This video will be a continuation of the ink cartridge from the first two components that we created, and this one's going to take a little bit more time to do the color selector that we're going to build off of the end. So in order to do so, I'm at the top level of the file. I want to make sure I create a new component to which I'm going to name the color selector. And this will have our different color and everything that we have available. I'm going to go ahead and turn this around. I'm going to do an offset plane from the end of the plastic barrel. This will be a -3/16 because part of that color separator is stuck inside of the barrel. I'm going to create a new sketch on that plane. And on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm actually going to turn off the visibility to the ballpoint end. So that way you will not see that being referenced in this modeling approach. I'm going to go ahead and hit the P key on my keyboard, and I'm going to project the inner circle, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. From there, I can go ahead and say Finish Sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude. And extruding that shape, it will be a 0.188, which will take me to the end of the plastic barrel. From there, I can go ahead and choose a new sketch, and I'll choose the end of that circle to be able to create my new shape. My new shape will consist of the main body and will be a T shape, which I'm drawing here utilizing the line tool. Some things that will be helpful will be some geometric constraints. Go ahead and making this line vertical, so you'll see mine wasn't quite set there. I'm going to go ahead and choose the line command, and I'm going to find the midpoint. So when I see the midpoint on this top line, I can click, go down here to the bottom, find the midpoint there, and you're going to see the line kind of shows up at an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the horizontal vertical, choose that line. While I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel to get off of that geometric constraint. Selecting the line, I'll press the X key, or I can choose the construction line from the sketch palette. Selecting the line, I can also choose a coincident constraint and choose the origin. Now, some things that may help. This line and this line will need to be collinear. And that will help quite a bit with our sketch creation. For dimensions, from the origin to the bottom will be a 0.125. The sides are going to be a 0.15. The overall width, 0.235. The overall height, 0.22. And the overall width of this bottom portion, 0.12. And this will fully constrain our sketch. Finishing it and hitting extrude, we will need to make sure we hit not only the T shape, but also, as I rotate around here, I also need to hit the end of the circle, so that way we get a solid profile. I'm going to go ahead and extrude that out. That will be extruded a 0.820. Go ahead and hit enter, and that will set in the main body of our shape there. From here, I'm going to turn this around to the back, and I'm going to create a new sketch on the back face. So there's a little ledge that sticks out on the back, and it sticks out just at the very top or underneath the bottom of the upright of the T, of the kind of the flange or the part that hangs over. And we're going to dimension this height to be 0.075, and then I can go ahead and finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude that sketch, just this rectangular portion, 0.05, and then we can go ahead and look at doing some of our other features. So I'm going to turn and select the side of our color selector. Using a line, I'm going to connect these two corners using a line. That'll get filled in. I will finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude, and moving this over, I'm just going to go ahead and click the other side to merge those two. From here, I can go ahead and move and focus to the bottom of this color selector. So I'm going to create a new sketch selecting the bottom face. I'm going to go ahead and turn this. And from the edge that was just created, I can go ahead and click, and I'm going to set on a rectangle. Utilizing the dimension tool, the width of this rectangle will be a 0.3. And then I'll go ahead and finish the sketch. It will be extruded a distance of 0.1, and it will also have, if I press the tab key, I can also get the taper angle, and it will have a negative 35-degree taper angle to give a point as noted by the part. Once I have that, I can go ahead and create a sketch on the side face one more time. I'm going to use a line off of the corner that was just created for this new part. I'm going to go ahead and draw in a notch that will be cut out. And the measurements for this, I'm going to first off apply a collinear constraint between the angled line and in the line underneath it. And then I can go ahead and do a 0.075 dimension for that width and a 0.1 height to give that notch. I'm going to go ahead and extrude. This will be cut through a distance all the way, and I can say OK. Focusing my attention back to the bottom, I'm going to create another rectangle off of the edge that was just created by the notch. This one will be slightly smaller by 0.2. Finishing the sketch, much like the larger one before it, we're going to do a 0.1, and it will also have a negative 35-degree taper angle. While we're on the bottom, the last feature will be to create the sketch. We will create a hole on the bottom using a circle. I'm going to go ahead and choose horizontal vertical. Holding the shift key, I'm going to get right in the middle, which will be the midpoint. Just clicking when I see it, and then click the center of the circle. Dimension, and dimension the distance between those two to be 0.075. Coincidentally, the diameter of this circle is also 0.075. Finishing the sketch, I'm going to extrude. This will be cut in a negative 0.05, and we can go ahead and say OK. The next step of this will involve putting the little rounded selector top where your finger would go through and push on to protrude the ink color that you wish. So I am going to go through and choose a new sketch on the top face. I am going to cut back this sketch just a little bit on the top. So clicking on the corner. The distance that's going to happen is from the bottom edge to this line will be 0.7. And I'm going to finish the sketch, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn this, actually so that way we can see that back ledge. I'm going to go ahead and extrude, clicking that shape, and I'm going to go ahead and drag this down and click the ledge, so that way it will match that level, and I'll say OK. What I'm going to do now is creating another new sketch on the top. I'm going to create an ellipse. So we're going to create where that would be placed. So in order to do so, right here at the midpoint, I click and I'll draw a line out over until I match the corner. Same width, and here will be my ellipse. The height of this ellipse is going to be 0.2. And I can go ahead and finish the sketch. In order to create that little shape as it kind of tapers off to the back end, I'm going to create a new sketch on this ledge. I'm going to repeat the same process of creating an ellipse. This time, as I do so, I'm going to make sure that I don't want to hit that midpoint right there, but I do want to go ahead and click, and I want to make this the same width as the previous ellipse that I had there. So I did stop a little short, so actually I'm going to hit escape, me hit ellipse. And let me make sure that here we go. I'm going to get right at the center, and I'm going to go ahead and just touch the corner to help me line up where I need to be, and that way the tracking will pick up. This ellipse, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that for the major axis, this is set up to be 0.235. The minor axis will be the same as what we had before with the previous ellipse. With 0.2. Now, in order to finish out this sketch, I'm going to go ahead and choose the line tool from the major end of the major axis. I'm going to go down to this corner. I'm going to trace along this horizontal line, and I'm going to come back up and make a filled-in profile. When I do that, I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch, put it in the home position, turn it around. On this now, I have these two profiles. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loft. I'm only going to choose the top of the half of the top profile. Then I want to choose this portion right here, this kind of squarish portion. So it will combine, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move around, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select. I need to click that portion right there, this, and then I'm going to make sure I turn around here. I want to make sure this all gets filled in solid, and I want to choose this one as well. So this becomes all solid portion, and I can go ahead and say OK. There is that back end portion that will get created. Now, my final step will be to create on the top face. So we'll go through and be able to create another ellipse. I will go ahead and put the shape in there. So let me go ahead and see if I can dimension this. Looks like I am caught on a coincident constraint of some kind. Actually, it looks like a concentric. Let me go ahead and finish the sketch. Actually, let's go ahead and just delete. Let's go ahead and go expand our color selector component, and let's expand our sketches. Sketch 10 was where we drew our profile for the top part of our color selector. Let's go ahead and let's just do a revolve, choosing the half portion there, hitting select, choosing the center axis. We're going to do 180 degrees, joining, and we're going to go ahead and say OK. And then we'll go ahead and turn off the visibility for the sketch. So we're reusing a sketch we already created. And this will finish out our ink cartridge. What we can do here is we can go ahead and change our physical material to a plastic. And we'll go ahead and change our color as well. So this one just so happens I do have a green that I was using to create this part. Now going back up to the top level, I would recommend before we start making copies of this file to edit, let's go ahead and let's use the as-built joint. I'm going to select the color selector, and I'll select the plastic barrel, make it a rigid joint, and say OK. Choosing as-built joint again, I'm going to choose the plastic barrel, and I want to choose the brass end as well, and go ahead and say OK. And now those are going to be, now if you move this around, which I'm going to up here in the position, I'm going to revert. I want to keep it there, but now these are all tied together or constrained together using the joints tool. So with that, I can go ahead and now I'm going to hit the save. I'll save this one as green ink cartridge, hit the Save tool. And what I'll do now is when I go into right click on the appearance, I need a blue cartridge. So I'll change that to blue, and I'm just going to go to File. This time I want to go to Save As, and I'm going to name this as the blue ink cartridge. And I'm just going to repeat the same processes to get a red and black ink cartridge as well. So now I can go ahead and grab black, File, Save As, making sure to change my name of my file when I do that. And the last one I have to do is red. So now you should have within your carabiner project, your carabiner shuttle pin, you'll have a, let me close this file here. So now you'll have 4 ink cartridges, different colors. You have your ink cartridge separator, and you have your barrel spring, as well as your sub-assembly of your barrel bottom. So in the next video, we'll take a look at creating a sub-assembly for your ink cartridges and your springs, and then we will take a look at putting them together with some other components in order to make sure they're ready to go, be ready for our barrel.